Woman booted from plane because all the men can't stop staring. Eva is mortified, frozen in her tracks. She couldn't believe the air hostess had done this to her and in front of everybody too. She sat in her plane seat soaked in embarrassment and her heartbeat quickened. This was supposed to the start of a well-deserved and much-needed vacation. The plane hadn't even taken off yet and Eva felt like her trip had been ruined. She thought things couldn't get any worse, but she was so wrong. If anybody needed a week in the sun, then Eva Jones sure did. You see, this single parent was overworked and stressed. She knew the struggle of balancing her career with being a mother to her 4-year-old daughter Molly. So when she treated herself and Molly to vacation to sunny Spain, Eva thought this trip was just what they needed to brighten up their lives. But Eva had no idea what was coming. You see, Eva was a single parent and she knew what a struggle it could be to get by, but her 4-year-old daughter Molly was worth it. She was a cheeky yet curious little girl. Eva did whatever it took to look after her daughter, often balancing multiple jobs at a time. But this devoted mom had no idea what was coming to her when she boarded a flight to Spain. Eva's best friend Chanel had lived in Spain for 5 years, so when she asked Eva and her daughter to come to visit, Eva jumped at the chance. A vacation was just what she and Molly needed. Little did she know her vacation would be far from what she had imagined. Eva locks the front door to her house and rubs her tired eyes. With her daughter excitedly bouncing around, Eva pulls their suitcases to the end of her driveway and waits for a taxi to take them to the airport. It may have been 3:30 a.m. in the morning and still pitch black outside, but Eva and her daughter Molly were bursting with excitement. This was going to be a trip she would always remember. And she was right, but she would remember it for all the wrong reasons. 30 minutes passed and Eva and Molly arrived at the airport. To some, flying can be scary and daunting, but for Eva, she knew how to travel in style. You see, Eva was an A-list member of the airline company she was traveling with, and one of the airline perks was that she could have any person traveling with her for free. The excited mom and daughter duo checked in, ready to kickstart their vacation. But they had no idea what was coming. After checking in, Eva browsed the numerous stores in the airport. Her eyes lit up as she saw thousands of beautiful clothing and accessories. Then, she came across a high-end clothing store. She debated going inside, but after taking a deep breath she walked in ready to treat herself. But Eva was going to regret this decision completely. Eva walked inside the store and with every item of clothing she laid her eyes on, her heartbeat quickened. Then suddenly, she saw something she knew she had to get. But Eva should have just put the item of clothing down and walked away. She was going to regret it. The item of clothing that Eva fell in love with was a blouse, and although it had a hefty price tag attached, Eva knew she deserved it. She quickly paid for the blouse and then got changed into it. Eva walked out and modeled the blouse to her daughter Molly, who replied with a thumbs up, followed by a cheeky smile. But Eva had no idea this blouse would ruin her trip before it even started. After finishing their shopping trip, Eva and Molly made their way to their flight. They saw that families had already started to queue, so it was only a matter of minutes before the doors would be open. With her daughter skipping in front of her, Eva walked towards the plane feeling confident and feeling good in her new blouse, but these feelings were soon about to come crashing down. As she boarded the flight, Eva greeted the flight attendants with her cheery smile. With each step she took trying to find her seat, excitement burst through her body. She was so ready for this vacation and she was determined to make it a perfect one. But Eva would soon learn it would be far from perfect. Carefully, with her daughter in front of her, Eva scooted through the never-ending aisles, her eyes flicking between the seat number and the ticket she clutched tightly in her hand. But as she navigated through the plane, an uneasy feeling hit the pit of her stomach. Eva turned around, saw that a group of young men were staring and smirking at her. What was their problem? Eva wasn't a stranger to receiving men's attention, but this time it felt different. She dismissed their stares and carried on looking for her seat, but she had no idea what was going to happen next. Eva gave fellow holidaymakers a smile and a wave, and they reciprocated. Everybody was in such a good mood, and who wouldn't be when you're about to start your vacation? But Eva had no idea her vacation was about to be ruined. As she settled her daughter into her plane seat, Eva fastened her own belt and let out a sigh of relief. She smiled to herself as she watched fellow passengers get ready for the flight to take off. But then suddenly, Eva noticed 2 female air hostesses were looking at Eva. What was their problem? Eva would soon find out and she would be left feeling sick to her stomach. As hard as she tried to dismiss the hostesses' stares, Eva could feel a knot in her stomach. Then one of them pointed straight at Eva and their faces turned up, as if she was gum on their shoe. Eva started to feel uneasy. Why were they staring at her? With hundreds of questions flooding her mind, suddenly Eva saw that one of the hostesses was approaching her. She had no idea what was coming next. "Excuse me, miss," said the air hostess. Eva looked up from her phone and saw her. She had her hand on her hips and a smirk plastered on her face. "Yes, can I help?" Eva said. Without hesitation, the air hostess replied, "We need you to get off this plane." Eva's mouth dropped wide open and an unsafe feeling crept up her spine. Was this hostess being serious? Was this some kind of joke? Surely the hostess had mistaken Eva for someone else. But this was no mistaken identity. The air hostess wanted Eva off the plane, but why? Eva started to argue back, asking what she did wrong. She was innocent, so what was the matter with the hostess? Eva felt humiliated, she had been called out in front of everyone and her own daughter too. Her heartbeat was racing. Then, what the hostess did next left Eva's blood boiling. The hostess indicated to Eva's new blouse and chest area, before saying in a stern tone, "There's no way you're stopping on this flight looking like that." Eva felt the anger bubble inside her and straight away she argued back, proclaiming her innocence and the hostess's disgusting behavior. But this hostess was adamant. Eva knew she had to give in. For the whole of the flight, Eva had to cover up her chest up with the hostess's jumper. She had never felt humiliation like it. When she landed in Spain after what seemed like a never-ending plane journey, she vowed to get her revenge on the hostess and airline company. But would she be able to pull it off? After making many formal complaints to the company and posting the incident to her social media, Eva swiftly received a response from the airline company. But it was a response Eva didn't like. Not one single bit. The airline company offered Eva a $100 flight credit. That was it. Eva knew this wasn't enough to cover the embarrassment she felt in front of her daughter and passengers. This mom on a mission has since claimed she'll take her actions further in exchange for a more genuine way of apologizing.